Hello, good evening. I'm Gloria Culmone, and today we're going to be talking about building our community. I want to tell you a little bit about myself before, and then we'll have Lauren tell us about herself. I am an ESL teacher in the Morris School District. I have been working with multilingual learners for 8 years. I taught bilingual. I've taught a gen ed monolingual class, and currently I teach ESL, like I mentioned. This spring, I'm completing a master's in teaching for equity and justice. I'm excited to finish so I can move on with other goals and do other things. I'm really passionate about working with multilingual families. Because as a multilingual learner myself, I completely understand how to, what it means to navigate between languages and cultures. And having that experience really drives everything that I do in my teaching. Tonight, I'll be presenting with Lauren. Lauren, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Lauren Ventresca. I'm a bilingual and ESL coach K-5 in the Morris School District. In the Morris School District, I was a teacher in ESL working with multilingual learners for about 5 years before I stepped into this current role that I'm in, working with many bilingual and ESL teachers, giving them strategies, working on lesson plans, check-ins, and customizing resources. And I'm excited tonight to talk about the assets that our learners bring to the table, talking about building our community through different examples and resources.
There we go. Oh, sorry, you guys. Okay. The agenda didn't show up. That's all right. Okay. Let me just try one more. Oh, no. Oh, there it is. Okay. So Lauren, do you want to go over the agenda or do you want me to?
Yeah, sure. So
Yeah.
we had our introductions, then we're going to be talking about the funds of knowledge, the family literacy interview, which is a great tool to work with multilingual learners and to really get to know who's in their lives. Then we'll talk a little bit about community asset mapping, figuring out what strengths the community already has and what our learners are working with in their community. Then we'll talk about the two and how they connect with the interviews and the mapping. Then we'll take some time for question and answers, as well as have an open forum for discussion at the end.
So using literacy interviews and community mapping strengthens partnerships. So first, I want to talk about families and community, why that work matters. Families hold powerful funds of knowledge, all their experiences and skills and expertise that families and communities already have. Students come with so many experiences. So these experiences often go unseen in traditional classroom settings because we're not always asking the right questions to uncover them. We often see gaps. Historically, the education system is built around a deficit model. We focus on, or we tend to focus on, what students don't know yet, what they are missing, and what experiences they haven't had. For multilingual learners, especially, this often means their English proficiency level becomes a primary lens through which they are seen. So if we only look for gaps, we're missing the full person that the student is. So we want to find ways to learn more about them so that we can use it in our teaching. If we only look for gaps, we'll miss the full picture. So we want to create connections with content. When you know what students already know, you can build bridges between their existing knowledge and the content that you're teaching. This is good relationship building. Students learn new information more deeply and retain it longer when it connects to something that they already understand. So funds of knowledge gives you material to make your curriculum more relevant to them. We need to support equitable instruction for multilingual learners. Recognizing and building the funds of knowledge is not simply a teaching strategy, it's needed for equity. If we ignore what students bring from home and their community, we send the message to them that their culture, their language, their family knowledge doesn't belong in our schools. For multilingual learners, the message can be damaging because they may already feel that they are caught between two worlds. An asset-based approach that honors funds of knowledge shows every student that who they are, where they come from, and what they know matters. So specific connections to multilingual learner goals. For multilingual learners, funds of knowledge have several specific, powerful applications. It honors their home language. It positions bilingualism and multilingualism as strengths that are to be celebrated. It helps teachers understand the full range of literacy practices students engage in outside of school, including reading and writing and in their home languages, which informs more accurate and culturally fair assessment. It positions families as partners with genuine expertise, and it strengthens the relationship between home and school in ways that directly benefit the student. And it also helps teachers design instruction that reflects the students' real lives, making the academic content more accessible and meaningful for the learners. Every student brings a wealth of knowledge from their home, culture, community. Recognizing and valuing these funds of knowledge transforms the classroom into spaces where learning is built on what students already know. It empowers them and it connects their experiences to new ideas, new learning, and it shapes meaningful change. Here is a lot of different ideas of how different kinds of funds of knowledge that you can learn about students. This is Louis Small. He's one of the originators of the funds of knowledge framework. Let's see, so we're going to take a listen to his approach on funds of knowledge.
Louis Small, and I'm a professor at the University of Arizona. For several years, we have worked with a concept that we call funds of knowledge. And funds of knowledge has to do with the knowledge base generated by families on the basis of their experiences, especially their work experiences, their social practices, and their social history. So part of the strategies that we use is to visit households and get to know the families, whether we become the learners as opposed to the teachers in that context, in order to document the knowledge base through, as laid out by the experiences of the families that we're working with. There are several advantages, we think, to such an approach, and we're pleased that colleagues in not only in different parts of the U.S., but in other countries are using the concept and adapting it to their own realities. And one of the most interesting areas for development on the use of the concept, I think, is through Head Start activities or other early childhood activities and programs, where the teachers could develop the documentation of funds of knowledge, not only with the families, but with the kids. And also the documentation of funds of knowledge of the teachers themselves. It is very important, I think, especially in an early childhood or in a Head Start context, to understand how teachers' experiences, live experiences, interact with the academic knowledge and pedagogical knowledge and concepts they're supposed to master as professional educators. There's always a filter in acquiring these more academic concepts, and that filter are the social and emotional experiences of our lives. So in a sense, the teacher's funds of knowledge become part and parcel of that element needed to assimilate the pedagogical knowledge and become an outstanding teacher.
Okay. So Mal mentions Head Start in early childhood, but of course it can be used at any level. So funds of knowledge in action. Interviews and mapping change the lens. They shift our focus from what students lack to what students and their communities already have. When we sit down with a family, you ask about their literacy practices, home languages, daily routines, and traditions. You begin to see strengths and resources that we cannot possibly see on assessments, standardized assessments. When you map the community and where the student lives, you discover so much about them. All these neighborhood spaces are full of knowledge, language, meaning. These tools give you a much more complete, accurate picture of your students as whole people. We're going to talk about family literacy interviews first. They connect to funds of knowledge. They're actually like funds of knowledge in action. The family literacy interview allows teachers to access and uncover funds of knowledge that for every family. While funds of knowledge is a framework, the family literacy interview is how you actually go about discovering that knowledge. So it's important to take time to learn what the students bring so you can build on that. The interview creates an intentional space where you could do that. Each interview component connects directly to funds of knowledge. The most direct entry point is the child's interests, their strengths, and experiences. This lived experience is academically valuable. Language that they use at home and in the community connects to one kind of funds of knowledge that multilingual families possess, their linguistic knowledge and practice. The interview makes it visible for the teacher so that the child's full linguistic identity can be honored and so that it could inform instruction. When families share their hopes and expectations about their child's education, it reveals a lot of important information about what kind of future they're working toward. The values give a child's learning meaning and purpose. The interview also gives teachers an insight on how to honor those values in the classroom. So funds of knowledge works if teachers genuinely believe that families have valuable knowledge that's worth their time, worth seeking out. When families trust you, they're more willing to share. So it's really important to try to get them to trust you. Together, the components work together. So the funds of knowledge become a way to gather information about the whole child, the whole family, and the whole picture rather than just simply academic skills. They shift the teacher's role from evaluator to learner, and they position the family as an expert. I mean, by doing that, it makes the family more comfortable and they're going to trust you more if you look at them like they're the expert and make them feel that way. It's especially critical for multilingual learners because these students are most at risk of being seen only through the lens of what they can't do in English. Family literacy interview is grounded in the funds of knowledge framework. It allows us to look at the whole person. Okay. So I wanted to take a minute to point your attention to this document, Exploring Cultural Concepts, Funds of Knowledge. This resource introduces the funds of knowledge framework and includes 10 categories of knowledge that families and communities possess, such as home language, traditions, etc. It includes reflection questions to help you think about how to gather and apply funds of knowledge in your own classroom and program. The research there highlights 3 things that we've been talking about. Families have an abundant knowledge. Second, classroom practices sometimes underestimate what the children are actually capable of and what they're displaying intellectually. And third, building trust is essential for asking families to share. So there's no need to do anything with that right now. I just kind of wanted to share it so you have it there as a reference or as a tool. So here is a literacy interview template. It's a sample family literacy interview, sorry. It gives us some insight about the student as a whole person. So every question uncovers funds of knowledge and that the family possesses. When you interview the family, the mindset should be that you're curious and you want to learn and let them be the expert when they share everything with you. There's lots of good questions here that will allow you to find out a lot of information that you can use that'll guide your lesson planning and different things that you do in school. Sometimes families may feel, oh, it's a way, sorry, reading. It gives us information about the students' literacy practices and interests. Sometimes families feel fear feel that their child doesn't read much at home because they're thinking about books, like traditional books, but they don't realize you can be reading cereal boxes, you can be reading words on the TV screen, lots of other different ways. So families see many ways that their child is already engaging with text. This expands the families and your own understanding of what reading looks like in a multilingual household. Also, you want to know if they have books at home, so that you can send them home, or maybe print some so they have something to read at home. Asking them, one of the questions on here is asking if there's a library close to them. Sometimes some families don't even, especially that are new to the country, don't even know, much about the library at all. So that's something that would be really important to share with them to find out how much they know. And you could explain to them, how to get a library card and all that so they can access what they need. Lots of different information on this worksheet, on this interview template. So if you want to take a look, later at another time. There's also a link there that'll take you right to it if you want to print it and copy it. So one of the other things about the literacies, we can find out what the kids are writing about at home, because sometimes they might go to school and be afraid to write, not comfortable. And if we find out, what kinds of things they're writing at home, what kind of rich material making, we can find out what that can help us at school, like find out what topics they like to write, and help them with their writing that they may not be able to do in English because it's overwhelming. But if we, after our interview, find out more about their interests, we can help them find ways to write in the classroom. Families who talk together and tell stories are building literacy skills. Families who write together support families in engaging their child's literacy development. You also want to understand about when they do work, where they're doing work, if it's quiet there, who's helping them, if they're trying to do it alone, because that can help you plan homework and giving them something that they could actually are going to be able to accomplish and do and be successful with at home. Okay. So this is another Funds of Knowledge form that was created by Lewis Mall. There's a link there to access it, along with another link for another option, just, in case somebody wants to have that. And this is an all about me assignment that I love, and it can help with literacy. I love these kinds of assignments. I always do them in the beginning of the year. So it does give you an immediate and personal background knowledge about the student. We know that students learn best when the new information connects to something they already know and care about. When a student shares their likes and interests, we'll have a roadmap for making instruction relevant and meaningful for them. I use these, like I said, all the time. I actually, once they bring them back, I keep them on file. I'll hang them up for a little while, but I keep them on file and use them all year long to guide my planning. For multilingual learners, it's critical because it allows us to see them as a whole child rather than just looking at their English proficiency level. One of the biggest challenges is getting young writers engaged and giving them something to real to write about. So this is a great way to get ideas for them to write about in school. Meaningful writing grows from experiences, from real experiences. And for multilingual learners, the anxiety of writing in a new language can be overwhelming. This kind of assignment is like low risk because it can't be wrong. It's just all about them. So it's something that's they probably feel more comfortable doing. And then it builds confidence from doing it. They can transfer that work into more challenging academic tasks once they feel more comfortable with assignments like this. And it also reveals what students actually do when they're not anxious and blocked by unfamiliar content, because as we know, sometimes in school, it's just overwhelming and you can't really see what they are actually capable of right away. And also there's so much to learn from it. You learn their current writing abilities from it, their comfort with English, organizational skills, willingness, how willing they are to take academic risks. And it's sort of like an assessment, but doesn't feel like an assessment. It sends every student the message that their full identity belongs in your classroom. An All About Me assignment celebrates bilingualism and cultural identity, and it affirms that being multilingual is a strength and an asset. You also might see them draw foods here and celebrations and lots of different information that sparks interesting conversation. These moments are cultural affirmations that build identity. It also builds classroom community. Literacy does not develop in isolation. It grows in communities where students feel safe and connected to one another. When they share assignments with their classmates, they begin to realize that they have a lot of connections. These connections are building blocks of a classroom community where students feel comfortable taking risks and sharing ideas, and supporting each other as learners and writers. For multilingual learners who may feel like outsiders in a classroom where English is dominant, these moments of genuine human connection are so important. Community building is a foundation that makes literacy instruction possible because students learn best when they're comfortable, they're confident, and they feel like they belong. So real reading resources, students actually, these pages are like real resources that kids want to read because their friends wrote them. They want to learn about their friends. It'd be a really cool activity to have everybody make one of these and then make a book for your class library. For emergent readers, this is really valuable because it's reading about familiar people and experiences. It's more accessible and motivating than a lot of other books that they won't be able to access. For multilingual learners, reading a classmate's page that includes words from their shared home language or describes a familiar cultural experience creates a bridge between their existing knowledge and the reading process. This student-generated text also is perfectly differentiated because it was written by children for children. So this is like actually living proof that their stories have value, which is really important literacy lessons, one of the most important literacy lessons of all. So now we're going to move on to community mapping. Lauren, if you want to go ahead and talk a little bit about community mapping.
Yeah, sure. So community mapping is really important because it shows you what students recognize about their neighborhoods and the communities around them. I've done this with my students in the past, especially in social studies with units about maps and meeting those social studies standards, of also including important community helpers, food, worship, services, learning, creativity, and fun places they like to go. It's amazing to see what students know about their environment, how long they think it takes to get from place to place, especially on the school bus, and when they try to show the distance between things. You'd be surprised how accurate it is and how sometimes streets line up near each other. People and organizations they rely on is something else that's really important about community mapping. What do they value? What, when they come to school, is really important for them, should be considered. They also might notice environmental issues. I've known that when I've done community mapping with my students, we talked a lot about recycling and climate change standards and issues that they're noticing within the community, especially if the park isn't clean near them. They might mention that, or they might even draw that as one of their noticings. So having those deep conversations about who is responsible in the community, who brings their own strengths, and how can make the community even better. So a teacher can really facilitate these community maps by asking strong eliciting questions. With eliciting questions, having pre-planned with this lesson, you can try to interpret and predict what students might draw on their community maps. What do you know about the area? Maybe go on Google Earth and pull up a map of where you live and where your school district is located to try to think of what community assets are there, because some of the maps might be a little bare, and that's okay. Having the opportunity to grow and show them more assets in their community is extremely important. And students can do these maps individually. In the past, I've done them on large chart papers and have students collaborate and work together on different sides of the community. on different areas of the community, or maybe even start with the school in the middle and have them work around the asset mapping to figure out what resources there are. And it really shows you an insight of what students view as important to them. So here's just a little video that we can play that shows some community mapping in action.
Hi, I'm Sarah, Outreach Coordinator here at Actua. Today I would like to share one of our most successful outreach activities, community mapping. This three-part activity is part of our InSTEM model, as it is built on the idea that youth have an inherent knowledge of place and helps them to discover how they came to know the meaning of that place by allowing them to discover the science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM, all in their own community. This activity is also great to debrief on elder or mentor engagement and connect all camp learning back to communities. In the first part, participants are sent on a STEM scavenger hunt. They scour their surroundings for people, places, and things that represent knowledge, inquisition, logic, and discovery. Observations are recorded as they go. What does it look like, sound like, and feel like? We even have a neat little template that you can use. It's available along with the Community Mapping 1.0 write-up at this exchange link. Once all observations are collected, students return to share the knowledge they gathered and collaborate to create a map of their community that can be displayed on the wall of the camp space. This map can include all of the questions and STEM connections that youth observed and wonder about. Throughout the camp week, the group returns to the map to add newly discovered STEM concepts learned in the activity. Campers help identify how specific places are used in their community, how they came to know these places, while linking careers and aspects of science that may be related to places they identified on the map. Elders and community members can expand on this during elder visits and community open houses. We had the team here at Actua build a community map so that you can see what this looks like in action. You can find the write-up for this activity, Community Mapping 2.0, at this exchange link. Once your community map is complete, you're ready to move on to the final step of this activity. In Community Mapping 3.0, we turn our attention from what is currently around us in our community to what we would like to see in the future. Using SketchUp, a 3D modeling program, participants design the buildings that they would like to see in their local community. Is it a new recreation center, library, movie theater? If you can imagine it, then you can build it. Finally, we import all these models into Google Earth to see our possible community of the future. In communities of low internet connectivity, these images can be printed out and placed on the map. Actua's community mapping activity can be performed anywhere, from the biggest cities to the most remote communities. It is an ideal way to connect your curriculum to the local area and to engage campers in a locally relevant code-making activity.
Okay, what I really like about that video is how they broke it into steps. I think that's a really strong teaching practice to have the exploration part without necessarily a facilitator or the teacher's input, seeing what students can pick up on their own, having them go around the community, having them interview people in their lives in any language and bringing back what they know about the community, having them walk around the school and even make a map of the school and the assets within the school, especially in a grade like kindergarten. It's in the social studies curriculum in our district to know who the principal is, who are your school leaders, and having that knowledge is essential within the community. I also like then how students came together and drew what they saw. And then in the final step, thinking about the future, think about what they want to change. As I was talking about before with the recycling example, what's something about climate change is a great starting point relating to social studies that students can really go off of something, how they want to make the community better as we move forward.
Hold on. It's not moving to the next screen. Hold on 1 minute. Sorry. Not sure why it's not doing anything. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I'm pressing enter and it's not, oh, there we go. Hold on. There we go. All right.
Is there
So,
a way to
yeah.
go one slide back? I think there was one
Oh,
more.
absolutely. There we
Okay.
go.
There we go. So this is kind of connecting a little bit of both with the literacy and the map. And this is an image that has different examples with labels, which I appreciate. I think trying to integrate language as much as we can as students language, as students put their L1 into different documents. That's also really important as they're talking about their community. And this has different places that they feel are important for their community literacy mapping. So some examples on here are like the park, the library, and seeing really what students value about themselves and their community. And this will look different for every student. And as Gloria was saying before, this could be a great thing to add in a book for your classroom that could help emergent readers to have access to these resources and to learn about each other and their community overall as a whole.
Okay, so connecting interviews and mapping. So it's important to use both tools to inform instruction. Family literacy interviews reveal home languages, practices, hopes, values. Community literacy mapping reveals places, texts, issues shaping students' daily lives. Together, they help you design more relevant texts and tasks, honor multilingual identities, and partner with families and communities. Oh. Okay, so this was an activity we were going to do. I don't know, it's something you can do, try it, later if you want on your own or, when you have time to think about it. Maybe think of one small concrete action you can do next month. We could even take a minute to think about an action step right now, something we might, we're thinking about, something we heard, something that reminded us that we wanted to do. Anything like that. If anybody wants to, you go ahead and put in the chat, or you can turn your mic off if you want to share something. Okay, let's yeah, that's something you can think about when, on your own time, and hopefully you will consider maybe trying something new in your classroom.
Can I just say, I just met with a group in my district. We were talking about how to get the families more engaged, and I loved some of those examples you had, because just by reaching out to them, I think is going to make that connection. We all agreed in our group that we need to make that personal connection.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure. That's a big difference. Yeah. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for sharing that. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. So we wanted to take a few minutes at the end just to, if anybody, we like the idea of saving some time at the end for sharing anything, or if anybody has like any kinds of issues going on, something they want to talk about, ideas they want, or, something that's on their mind with regards to their, teaching. We thought it would be nice to have time to share. So, yeah, so that's what this time is for. Okay. I think we could turn off the recording.
Okay.
Yeah. Lauren, did you want to say anything else?
No, just that these two tools are really important. I think from my own experience, they've really helped me over the years get to know families. I think with conferences coming up in many districts, this is a time to maybe bring some of those, instead of maybe a whole interview at this point in the year, but bring some of those literacy questions forward and have those conversations with family and try to make connections from the school community to the overall community. I just think is so important.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
these are our emails, personal emails. If you ever have any questions, want to talk, I'm definitely open to talking about either of, the community asset mapping, literacy interviews, different teaching aspects, but we definitely wanted to come tonight building our own community, building our own chapter, but also making sure that we're doing that for our students and the multilingual learners and build them up even more.
Mhm.
Sure.